Greetings, colleagues. Welcome to the Ivory Attic. I'm Ian Isherwood.
And I'm Kurt Andreessen.
And we have a special episode. We are entering graduation season.
Graduation. I love it. Commencement.
Commencement.
Which means beginning. I'd never understand commencement, actually.
Yeah. Well, yes.
You're the historian. Why is it commencement?
I have no idea. So anyway, we're going to be commencing, right?
We're commencing the commencement.
Pomp and circumstance and all that whatnot.
Okay, all right, good, great.
Yeah, so, and we are appropriately attired for that.
Oh, yes, we're in our full regalia.
Full academic robes right now, and because we are going to be talking about the subject of academic dress later on, aren't we?
Yes, exactly. A special fashion segment dedicated to the graduation robes.
Yeah, and why don't we dedicate this episode to the class of 2024?
I love that. Yeah, done.
All right.
It's dedicated.
It's dedicated to
Let
them.
it be so.
Yeah. Kurt, who's our guest?
Well, this it's a guest that actually I at least know fairly well. Someone that we've been wanting to get on the show for quite a while. But due to scheduling, been hard to really figure it out. But finally gotten her here. It's actually Juls Buehrer, who is the. Do you have the? I don't have the new title. This is terrible. The costumer and artist in residence at Gettysburg College. Did I get it?
Costume designer in residence,
so
shop manager, and scenic artist at Gettysburg College.
And as you can tell by my vast knowledge of this person, this is also she also has the unfortunate fate of being married to me.
What? So it's our first nepotism episode.
It is. Well,
yay for nepotism.
Jules has a BA in Integrative Arts from Penn State. And with concentrations in scenic art and fine art. I got that right?
Yes, you got that right.
And has over 20 years of professional experience as a scenic painter and designer.
That's a really long time.
It's a really long time.
We're not.
Sorry, I meant 2 years.
You guys are older than me.
Sorry, 2 years. I meant 2 years.
Okay, yeah. 2 very long years.
And it's not old; it's distinguished, right?
Exactly.
That's the one.
Which is important.
Sure.
So, Jules, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your background, how you got into doing the work that you do.
Well, first, I just want to say thanks for having me on the show and for having such a expansive, I guess, definition of what makes an academic. It's nice of you to include us with the lower count in the degree scale. My academic journey, I guess, started like most high school kids in America, where I just felt like I should go to college because everybody else in my family did. But at the same time, I was terrified of growing up and of going to college and making all those adult decisions about what to do with the rest of my life. And so my coping mechanism was to put as little thought into it as possible. And to
that's a good one. I like that one.
Right? And to just make it a very casual decision that, it wasn't, the fate of my life or anything. It was just, some other decision that I had to make, when starting my day or whatever. So I ended up, I started college in, at the same university both of my brothers went to because it was familiar. So I was at Bowling Green State University, and I had picked out. I wanted, the arts were always what I was interested in, what my passion was. But I also was born of two very practical people who, they would let me study an art. Also, definitely the subtext was that I needed to be able to get a job. And so I started.
You're telling me there are people in this world who don't think of education as just for its own sake, but want college to be something to get a job?
There was supposed to be.
I've read about this demographic.
Yeah.
I've done some research into it.
Yes. So that was my context. And so I picked interior design, which felt like an artsy field, but also that there would be advertisements for jobs in the paper that I could someday look up and apply to. And I had a great first half a semester at Bowling Green in the interior design program. It was awesome. I was loving it. But like sort of midway through, I did start to feel like something was missing that I couldn't quite pinpoint. And in class one day, one of my interior design classes, the professor sort of enumerated various career paths that interior designers could go into, and she happened to mention like doing scenic design for theater and movies and stuff. And I was like, oh, it just hit me. I was like, that's it. That's what I want to be doing. I want to create these worlds and tell stories on stage and be able to engage a little bit more like physically with the creation of spaces. Because with interior design, like, I mean, yes, sometimes the designer goes off and makes, puts the room together, but like I really needed that part of it. I need physical labor in my career.
Which is the exact opposite of Ian.
Oh, 100%. No, it's like
we avoid it.
But this is why we need to have people from a wide spectrum of academia on,
Yes.
right? Because I think if we talk to most of our colleagues and said to them,
you need to stand up.
Do you want some physical
maybe you should
labor?
move around while you teach a little, right?
Yeah, and so it like in my bumbling way, somehow I got myself the very next semester I got myself into Penn State main campus, which had because Bowling Green did not have a theater production program. I don't know if they do now, but they didn't at the time. And so like I hurried up and I applied to Penn State and somehow got in. And so like I started in the program the very next semester. I started at Penn State the next semester. I had missed the cutoff for the they had to do a portfolio. You have to do a portfolio review to get into their theater production program. And I had missed that, and it wasn't like they could do like a makeup, I guess, but they knew I was there. And so they just had me start on like some of the theater courses. And then, I was going to just do the portfolio review the next year. And it would be fine. So, and it was, I got in the next year, and then I sat down with my, advisor and tried to plot out my course selection for the next few years. 'Cause it was actually a very intense, credit program. I think it needed like 30 credits. Could that be right? Could that be right for a program? I feel like
I don't know. We don't do credits.
Anyway,
so we
I
don't
needed
know what
an
any of those
enormous
mean.
number of credits on top of like, they had a lot of gen ed requirements.
But 30, so are they 3 credit per class? Is that what it is?
Yeah. I think
And
it
so
was.
it's like that would be
I
10
don't-
classes then, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was going to be a lot. And I sat down with my brand new advisor and we tried to plot out my schedule. And he's like, oh, you'll just need an extra semester or an extra year to do this. And so going back to my parents are very generous people, and they had 4 children, and they planned for 4 children to each go to college for 4 years, but nothing.
That's 16 years worth. Of
Yes. But nothing.
that was what they had. For
Nothing beyond that. And so I was like, oh my God, like I can't go into an art field and take on like a full year's worth of tuition on my own. I was crazy enough to study the arts, but not crazy enough to go into an art field with that amount of debt. And so, yes, I'm in this brand new program, and I'm already looking for a way to get out of it, or to, I don't know, somehow complete it in under 4 years. And lucky for me, Penn State has the integrative arts program. I believe they still have it, and it's so what it is I call it the choose your own adventure major. It's
I love those majors.
Yes, right.
That's what Ian does.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
So
what we do in
this is-
interdisciplinary
yes.
studies. Yeah.
So yes, this was just Penn State's version of that. And it was, once you got in, you just had to keep a certain GPA and work out with the advisor there, like what your art program your BA was going to be. and meet those requirements, and then you were good to go. So that's what I did. And it made it so that I could take all the courses I wanted without being in the because it's like some courses are limited to majors only, but this was like a free pass that I could get into any class that I wanted to. So I was able to do a combined study of scenic design and scenic painting and fine art painting at the same time. And I graduated in 4 years.
Cool.
And that was it. And then I got out of school and I almost immediately gave up on theater. Because I was in this pretty serious relationship at the time.
What was he like?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I mean, wonderful enough to give up an entire career.
Oh. It must not have been you then.
But I wanted to go be with Kurt, and Kurt was in Ithaca, New York at Cornell, which is a great town, but it's hard to make a career in theater there. I did get some scenic painting work while we were there from the kitchen theater, but it was like $100 a show.
Which is not quite.
It was not quite enough to live on. I was not.
It's the famously high-paying arts, right?
Yes. And so I had many a day job and did some theater at night.
But then it all worked out.
It did. It all worked out. I kept following Kurt around. And
listen, I told her I'd only do 2 more, I think, after the first move.
2 more moves?
Yeah. So
that was true. That was true.
And this is the second one?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in Hamilton for a little bit, which I did no theater while we were there. Because it was even smaller town that we found. But then we came here to Gettysburg College.
Great theater program.
It's got a great theater program. Met the theater people. They were very kind, and then and first they invited me to come and do some scenic painting for them. So I was doing that while taking care of our 2 young children, and then they kept having people leave, and I was just picking up all the other jobs that people left behind, which included
good news. There might be a lot more jobs coming.
Oh no! I don't know if I finally get benefits. If I pick up one more job, can I get benefits?
Definitely not.
But yeah, and so that's where I am now.
So I've always been impressed with your work ethic. So I've known you for 10 years or so, and when I am sitting on the porch with your husband having a drink late at night, you roll in at like 10 p.m. covered in paint. After what I consider doing more physical labor than I've ever done in my entire life combined. But you come in covered in paint and you grab some cereal.
Always have to have the cereal.
You have your cereal and your day is over probably 15 hours after it started. So I am incredibly impressed with your work ethic and the amount of time you put into your students. Why do you do that?
I love the students. I don't know. They keep me young, and I obviously because of the terror of that I had being that age, like I very much sympathize with where they are now, and it's very important to me to like show them that like everything's going to be okay. Like just take this time, explore the world, and if I can teach them something, it's really nice. Like I found all these things that comfort me. I found my stumbling path, through, and if I can do it, they can do it. So, and it's nice that I don't know. I like keeping up with young people and where they're at and how they see the world.
Except they don't work nearly that hard.
Well, no, but I'm hoping I can encourage them to work hard.
At least the ones in my class.
And to find fulfillment in working hard.
Well, are they getting as much pain on them as you do? Or is this like
get so much pain on
them? Or is this like a you thing? Is it like a dexterity thing?
Yeah. I guess I just don't care as much. I love the paint. Like, I don't mind having an intimate connection with the paint. I know.
Yeah. Where's the stuff?
Yeah, we can take that out too. I don't know. It doesn't scare me. It's my friend. We're working together.
Well, so this is going to segue into, I think, our conversation about graduation dress. What's it like costuming for a show? Like, what's that process like?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I had a brief, so when I was in my period of following Kurt around and trying to figure out what else I could do other than theater because it wasn't working out, I had sort of a brief period of time where I wanted to be a children's book illustrator. And, found a passion there for trying to tell stories visually. And so that's how I think of costuming, is that I am there to, take this work of the playwright and with the director's vision, visually, bring this all, to the audience. And so, of course it starts with a really deep dive, into the script and several readings. And I take a lot of notes and, just trying to figure out who these characters are and what needs to happen and what we want to show the audience, what we want to conceal from the audience. And, if it's a historical piece, doing a ton of research into the historical context of the time and what this person in this strata would have worn, and how they would have presented themselves, to the people around them. And from there, I often, if it's a historical piece, then I'm often drawing renderings. And with my renderings, I kind of like to I think of them as illustrations. I try to put a little bit of personality into the drawings, just as a way actually to check in with the director and make sure, I understand, how you see this character and how we want the audience to see the character. So if it's not a historical thing, then we tend to work mostly in collage and things like that, where I'm going to show them actual clothing or items or whatever, and we go from there. But so I do a bunch of research. I create sort of a design package, and then I have a design presentation with the director, and we figure out if this is the right direction or what needs to be changed and tweaked. And then if I was at a different place, I would then probably pass that all off to the costume shop manager, and they would figure out how to make everything and source it and put it together. But because I am also the costume shop manager,
she passes it to herself.
I pass it to myself and then go and do things. Because I am the costume shop manager, actually, sometimes as part of when I'm putting the designs together, I'm also thinking about stuff that we already have, what I have in stock. My budget is very tiny. And so sometimes it's what curtains have I picked up from the thrift store recently that I could turn 90% into?
Of her stuff is made out of curtains.
Yes, it is.
I'll give you a little peek into the background.
Thrift store curtains.
It's 90% thrift
store curtains.
There are lots of thrift store curtain dresses.
Yes.
Have you had any audience members that come up to you afterward and say, "I think those are my curtains"?
I have not so far. Which is good. I guess. Like that. Or not. I don't know. Is that a compliment? I don't know. Would somebody feel gratified to see their curtains
absolutely
made?
Especially ones they threw away. Well, the other thing, I think that I'm always impressed with, because when Jules and I are talking about some of the stuff she's done, there's also there's kind of, I don't know, that level of stuff that she kind of talks about, but there's also a bunch of other stuff that she's always kind of talking to me about and thinking about, which is you can't have more than, you don't want more than 2 or 3 people dressed in red at the same time, because it's hard to follow who's who.
Yes.
And you want it to look nice when everyone's standing up together, which, in everyday life we don't do this, but when we watch stuff, we kind of want everyone to want it to all look nice when you look up there.
Yeah, you have to think about the whole cast and how they're going to be.
We talk a lot about color palettes and all that.
Wow.
You don't need too many clashing patterns. It could be disastrous.
Your job requires a lot of skills.
I think of it that way.
I thought it was just putting clothes on people.
It's not just putting clothes on people. He says this to tease me when I'm stressing about,
I'm like, people dress all the time. Like 90% of the people out there have dressed themselves. Like
have them dress themselves.
Just tell them to put clothes on. Like they've done this before.
Jules, so yeah, we thought we would talk to you about academic fashion and hear from you about the history, because one of the things that Kurt and I think exemplify amongst the professoriate is the fact that we are a performative profession.
Yes.
Where most of it, at least for the both of us, is about how we portray ourselves.
I think it's even more so for the other people. I think we're actually on the...
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
We're just more obvious about it.
Right.
Well, I mean,
the
when
most
you come
fashionable men on
but
campus.
like that's very kind. But one of the
Except
things
maybe
that, and I can't take a compliment, but one of the things that we hear a lot as professors is whenever we get dressed up for graduation, and people are always in awe of seeing faculty members in these weird robes with these weird hats on.
Yeah. And actually, before we get into the history, we should talk about what we're actually wearing. Like, because yours looks much different, don't you think? I feel like just give people some idea about what they look like. So, I mean, I've got, I think a slightly more traditional American style of robe set, and I'm sure Jules will tell us all about the actual.
We'll put a picture on the website.
Perfect. But anyway, but for those of you listening, it's basically a big, the normal thing you think of, big and fluffy. Mine's bright red, and it has these cool little velvet, definitely. I know materials very well, and they're very warm. And they have and I have a funny hat. Yours is a little different because you got a little bit more breathing room right now.
Yeah, Kurt. So one of the things I love about your robes is that you look like a male cardinal trying to attract a mate. All puffed up.
No, I thought you meant the church one.
No, that's different. That's different.
Oh no!
You look like the bird. The bird.
Oh yeah.
All cardinals are male. The church ones.
Well, listen, the bright red bird ones are too. So
I guess that's true.
Yeah. So my robes are different. So mine come from the University of Glasgow, which is in Scotland, and because they're a European or UK robe, mine are open. So there's no zipper close or anything like that.
He does have a shirt on underneath. I want to make this
yes.
very clear,
Well,
so that
or as my wife says, the open robe keeps you honest, right? But it also means you have to wear something underneath. So you need to wear something that's kind of nice underneath. But mine is a traditional black teaching robe with then it has what is supposed to be a crimson silk facing on it.
Oh, it's
and then
faded a little.
Yes, faded a little from the sun. And then we both have hoods.
Oh, I forgot about the hood.
And the academic hood is a detachable hood. And they're usually lined in silk. In your tradition, the hood says something about your discipline, I think. And in my tradition, it doesn't.
Figured out.
Yeah. And then my hat's different. Mine's called a John Knox cap because it's a Scottish university, and John Knox was
I love it.
Was a Scottish reformer. So.
All right, so Jules, why are we wearing these silly things?
Well, I think we can start with. All right, so humans throughout history and throughout time have always used their clothing to say, who they are and why they are important. We know this mostly because a lot of, not much from antiquity, clothing-wise, survives because humans tend to wear natural fibers because these things are the most comfortable, and natural fibers degrade over time, and so we don't have much. So, a lot of what we know from people from way back when is from artwork that humans have also left behind that depict clothing of all kinds. And in the artwork, clothing is also used to say, like, these are the important people, these are just more like the commoners are less important. There are also some writings from antiquity about clothes. I'm thinking mostly of like in the Jewish tradition, like in the Bible, there are several passages which described what clothing choices that the priestly class should wear. So it's actually in Exodus chapter 28, if you're interested, and Leviticus chapter 8. And these garments included a breastplate with 12 jewels that symbolize the 12 tribes of Israel, the ephod, which is like a tabard-like drape over top, a robe, a tunic, a sort of a turban-like hat, and a sash. So like this outfit was outside of like sort of the normal clothing that people were wearing. It was to set these priests apart and to tell the people around them that these people are doing special things over here in these special clothes. The Romans also had sort of a system of clothing that would show who was doing important things right now. And for them, their important people didn't do much physical labor.
Much like us. Yes, this is where we're getting.
yeah,
This is where we're getting to the good
we're
part.
getting into good
I was
stuff.
gonna say,
Yes. So
I like this.
No physical labor.
No physical
Yes.
labor
I'm wearing
and
somebody's
fancy
curtains.
dress.
Right,
Yeah, exactly.
right. And so to show that they were not doing physical labor, they were wearing the toga, which unlike the togas that you will see at frat parties, it's not like the drape tunic. The toga is actually the mantle. So it's a huge semicircular mantle that's like it's 9 yards of fabric. I think the person would drape around themselves. You drape you around yourself in this special way. I actually brought you guys
Oh, cool.
a graphic of how you're supposed to put your toga on, but it was
I don't
specifically
even have a toga.
it was specifically made to show that, you know, these orators were involved in peaceful affairs and work that was not highly physical. So there's your toga right here.
Does this mean I can wear a toga to graduation?
You can wear a toga to graduation if you.
Why aren't we wearing togas?
Yeah, you
We
should.
should.
9 yards of fabric.
With
What?
laurel crowns?
Right.
Can we
It's
wear
funny
those
though,
too?
because I feel like traditionally, the people who, like when at fraternities when they're wearing a toga, they seem to be doing a fair amount of physical exercise.
But they're not actually wearing togas.
Right.
They're not wearing togas. They're just wearing the Roman undergarment. Well, maybe, or a bed sheet, whatever
bed
it
sheet.
Oh,
was.
that actually, the Roman undergarment is more appropriate, actually, I think, for what they're generally doing.
So these togas were actually pulled from other traditions. So the Greeks wore something similar called the himation, which was, I think it was more rectangular, but again, like draped around the body. And the Etruscans had what was called the tabena, which was, it was sort of shaped like a toga, but not quite as much volume of fabric. Late in the Roman period, they got tired of the togas because, I mean, they weren't wearing these for war. That's a lot of fabric to have on your body when you live in Rome.
Yeah, you're talking to two people who are sitting in
Yes,
these garments
I know.
in about an 80-degree attic. So
Yeah.
so we get that.
And we've also sat in these garments in like rain,
Multiple-
and
yeah,
extreme
exactly.
like
Yeah.
heat, and
So yes, they were experiencing all of these things. So in the later Roman period, the high class they switched to the chasuble, which was also an Etruscan garment. To our eyes, it would look sort of like a poncho. In fact, actually, for us, if you've ever been to a Roman Catholic
that's what they
service,
wear.
that's what they're wearing.
Okay.
And they're wearing that because the early church, so as, you know, as Rome was falling, the church was actually, the Catholic Church was in, sort of its ascension. And to show the important people in the church, they were adopting the styles of the important people in the Roman world. So so the early church clergy were wearing chasubles with the long Roman tunic underneath them, and they actually for a while it was just sort of custom. They standardized it at the 6th century Council of Braga, and also in the 875 in a letter from Pope John to the archbishops of Canterbury and York. He encouraged them to continue this practice of wearing the chasuble and the Roman tunic because a lot of people in Europe at that time were taking on the more, it was the fall of Rome, and Germanic tribes were coming into power, and people were tending to wear the more Germanic tunic and trousers. So this was a way for the clergy, the members of the church, to set themselves apart from just the other people.
So are there any more developments, or are you just telling me that I'm just going to blame the Romans for the fact that I'm sitting here sweating right now?
I mean, they really, yes, it's the legacy of the Romans.
Well, we got Cardinal Kurt over here.
Yeah. Sorry.
In his red cardinal outfit.
Your red
it's a direct line from the Roman Catholic Church to you.
That's what a lot of people have said, actually, about me in general.
Yeah, I mean, yes, for sure. It began with the Romans, but they really do adopt it and bring it, to their own.
So I mean, I know, like, when you go back to kind of what we think of as the oldest universities that we're kind of, descended from, let's say, the traditions that we're currently a part of. You think, I always think back to, whatever, like Oxford, Cambridge, kind of, what you're talking about, 1100-ish.
Well, they compete about it.
Yeah. I know. When I was there was a whole, yeah. But so like,
I mean, Glasgow was 1451, founded by Papal Bull, so not that bad.
It's
still pretty old.
It's pretty good.
Pretty old.
Pretty good. So like, are they? So they're just basically stealing this.
Well, so like the first European universities were they were created by the church. They were created.
So they're just wearing what they were wearing anyway.
Yes, because they were mostly created to teach clergy members about canon law, which is like the law of the church, and the civil law and medicine and liberal arts kind of came afterwards. But yeah, like when the first universities started, most everyone who was attending them had taken holy orders, and so they were just wearing their normal holy order outfit, basically.
Well, so
yes,
then,
go ahead.
Well, no. So so why does his get to be open?
Okay, all right. We're gonna get to that.
Yeah. So the early universities, right? So you have all these priests that are being trained. Right. And so they're being trained in things like canon law. Mm-hmm. I'm not hearing that they're trained in like physics or anything like that. They're being trained to like read and to think.
Yes.
And
those things come later.
Integrative arts.
Right. Integrative arts. It's all ODS back then.
Hey. Okay. So, yeah. All right. So we're wearing the chasuble and the tunic for a long time, but then we get to sort of the 1200s, and in the Fourth Lantern Council of 1215 and the 1222 synod held by Cardinal Langton, who was the Archbishop of Canterbury at the time, they started dictating other garments. So the first one they had was the capa clausa or clausa. I'm not really sure. My Latin's not great. But this was, you're going to love this. This is a sleeveless closed front robe with a single small opening in the front for the hands to stick out. I'm going to show you a picture of this. So it was just...
All right, so what she's talking about,
you're basically
you're in a tube.
You're in a tube,
and the only way you can stick your hands out is if you're praying.
Yeah.
Oh wow, this is profoundly weird.
So I mean, there's a lot of.
So when did they invent sleeves?
I mean, they had sleeves, but this was really, again, it was sort of like the Roman tunic, where it was just showing like the activity that you perform in this is.
But that's like a sack with two holes in the front.
Yes, it is.
Like you would think that.
Well, the one only has one hole.
You'd think that their tailors would be better than that.
Yeah.
No, they knew how to make clothes, and you can see that they have sleeves on underneath it. They had other garments underneath. This was just like the formal garment on the outside for the formal occasions of the university.
It's my prayer frock.
It's your prayer frock, yeah.
No. Okay, so I actually like this idea. So now, here? I'm going to give you a quiz now. Ian.
Okay,
we're going to switch this up a little bit. So they had it cut in a way so that, like, basically, as you're putting your hands out, you're just doing a prayer all the time. With our modern colleges, what should ours be shaped like to make our arms or hands or any of us do as we're facing the audience. So that this, right? Like,
Oh, this could get problematic pretty quickly. So I'm gonna take a dodge on that one. What do you think?
Let's see. I don't know. What are we trying to do? We're we're trying to teach. Like, so what do? I teach up. What would be fun? What if we designed one that perfectly kind of fit your hand and arms when you're putting a pipe up to your mouth while holding your other arm underneath.
You see, that's a great idea. So I was thinking for you, and it's not as good as that, but I was thinking maybe like your dry erase marker. Kind of
like
hole
that.
in the front.
I like that.
Because you spend all the time on that whiteboard.
I actually really like the idea of as I'm writing, you can't see my hands at all. It's just a single dry erase marker sticking out, and then another pocket where I can get an eraser out if I need to. Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah, and mine, like, I tend to like lecture sometimes with a cup of tea, and I'll walk around with a mug. So mine would be like the mug.
Oh yeah, maybe you could build something in so it actually holds the mug.
That would be great.
Like a little.
Yeah.
You could definitely do it with that. I mean, you could do kind of like the beer hats, but just with the actual cat.
Anyway, sorry, Jules.
No, it's fine.
Tends to be how it goes.
This is good. Okay, so all right, so that's the as time goes on, and they're adding like these civil law studies and medicine. So they start to
still no physics.
Well, medicine was pretty rough back then. So I'll tell you, you'll know when physics shows up, because that's also when medicine isn't awful.
Yeah. So they start to vary these outfits kind of based on like your degree level and what you're studying. So doctors of divinity and of canon law continue to wear the cappa clausa, so the single opening. Bachelors of divinity and canon law and doctors of medicine and civil law wear the chimere, which is basically the same thing, but it has two armholes. Two arm
innovative.
There we go.
See, that's a scientist right there. Hey, you know what? How about two armholes? I've got two arms.
I have 2 arms. We might as well use them both.
I might want to move them independently.
Yeah. I don't want to think about medieval medicine. 2 armholes isn't going to help you. Okay, and then doctors of civil law wore the cappa manicata, which has 2 arm slits, but it also has hanging sleeves, which were kind of a fashion thing in the medieval period.
I was going to say,
a hanging sleeve is.
That's right. Just describe it, Jess.
Well, okay, so
our audience can't see anything.
You can't see anything, but you guys can see it. So a hanging sleeve, it was just like a giant sleeve that the arm could go the whole way through, and you'd have this, like profuse amount of fabric covering your arm, but they would give themselves an out sort of at the elbow, so you could only have half of the sleeve.
This is like a master's gown. Master's gown has that long thing hanging off the bottom.
We'll see that comes up later. So at this point, that's the doctors of civil law are the ones that are wearing that. Masters of the arts had the cappa nigra, which is a shorter version of the chimere, which is the two slitted robe, and then bachelors of the arts had a tabard, which at this point the term tabard meant a gown with short pointed sleeves, which is similar to what our bachelors have now in there. I'm sorry, you look like you were going to ask a question. Did you have a question? Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Okay. So by the end of the medieval period,
there isn't going to be a quiz on this later, because I can't keep track of the dates.
We can do.
I'm really bad with the dates.
I'm bad with dates too. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say that.
That's why I wrote them all down in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so by the end of the medieval period, so these all, everything I've described just now were sort of like robes on top of like your regular clothes. By the end of the medieval period, they were sort of merging the two together, where it was like a robe with sleeves, basically. So much easier to work in, much less prayer, much more actual work. But before we leave the medieval period, I should talk about the hood.
Oh yeah, the academic hood.
The academic hood. So they did have, they were wearing hoods in this time. It was a pretty common medieval garment for all social strata. So
it's pretty cold.
It was pretty cold. And the hoods at this time were, I feel like today when we think about, if you think about like a court jester's costume, it's like a short shoulder cape with a hood in the back that comes to a very long point.
Yeah, pointy hood.
Yes. They're actually called liripipe hoods.
Okay.
And the liripipe actually had several different functions. So that long tail had several functions. And when you had your hood up, it did look funny. It didn't look funny to them because it looks funny to us now. It doesn't we definitely would associate it with like court jester, but it was functional. So when you would have your hood up and you're out riding your horse, you would take the liripipe and you would wrap it around the front of the hood to keep it from being able to fly back. So it was like a scarf. It was like an attached scarf to your hood. They would
maybe we should bring this back.
I know. That would kind of tie your...
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah. They would tie your hood up. Yeah.
That looks good. That's really good. That's really good. All right, Ian is showing us.
I'll take a picture.
I'm demonstrating.
Audience, I will take a picture
for when I ride my horse.
Yeah, for when you ride your horse in your robes. All right, good.
That's great. We should, absolutely.
That liripipe tail was also helpful.
On a horse.
On a horse with my hood up.
Into graduation.
Man, that'll freak out the trustees on the stage.
Oh, yeah.
So they also suspect that the liripipe was it was a quick way when you were in a garment that you only had one hand hold. It was an easy way to be able to pull the hood off of your head if you had that little tail in the back. You could actually pull your hood back with your limited.
Why not just cut another armhole?
Yeah, no. Listen, we already know we're just going to do one armhole. How do we make this thing easier to take off? Well, we can make the
hood long.
The hood really long. Maybe I had a really long hat, and then you can grab it from there. Does that make sense? Yeah, sure. We can make it long enough. You can just step on it. Maybe you could do
it. There's choices everyone can make.
Are we up to modern ones yet?
No, I'm sorry. We're still not there yet. I'll skip some stuff though.
Great.
Okay, so now we've come to the Renaissance.
This is a scientist. I'm just I want to know how they're manufactured. I want to know where.
I'm lapping this up.
Yeah, no. So this is as strictly divided as we have ever been. I feel like I'm just yeah, okay, but I'm getting hotter by the minute and understanding less and less why I'm wearing.
And I'm just like, Jules, tell me more.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so we've reached the Renaissance.
Oh boy,
the Renaissance. So in this period,
rediscovery, the
rediscovery. Yes. So universities at this point start to move away from the church. They become institutions in their own right, not ones that are so closely connected with the church. The church itself is a little bit on shaky ground. We've got the Reformation happening. That's
when it all went downhill.
Yes,
am I right?
People are pulling away. And so academic robes now become more they start to take on aspects of just popular clothing, just out regular secular clothing. So the robes start to open all the way down the front. Now we've got the sleeves are all attached. There are sleeves. The hood loses. We no longer have the liripipe hood. It just becomes sort of a drape that goes across the shoulders and has been pulled back. So much like the hoods that you are wearing now, they were not functional. They were just sort of decoration to add, and they would be lined with silk or fur, and those would sort of signify what your degree level was at that point in time, and there would be different types of fur for different types of degrees and stuff.
Why don't we still do that?
Yeah, I wish we had more fur.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be really hot, though.
It would be super hot.
And smelly.
Right. Especially if it got rained on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good.
And people would throw red paint on you all the time. It's be the worst. Okay. So, I'm sorry. Back in the medieval period, you were wearing sort of skull cappy type hats. In the Renaissance, your hats widen and flatten. The most popular form was the pileus quadratus, which was like a 4-pointed hat that was, yes, very similar
It's
to
like
what
the
you
John
have.
Knox cap.
Yes,
I've got
it was.
I've got 8. I've got 8 over here.
Ooh.
It was floppy, and
Oh,
so it kind of
well.
drooped down.
Give it some time.
Over your head until they got tired of how impractical that was, and then they inserted a board in it to hold out the corners,
there you
And
go.
it
becomes the mortar board
Oh,
that
there you
we're
go.
that
There
we're
you
so
go.
used to.
Real innovation.
Yeah.
That
They
was a
were-
scientist.
they were still
That
quite they were still quite tight to your head, the skull cap part of the mortar board. So they put a tuft in the middle of the mortar board so that it was easy to pop it off your head, and that's why we have the little
Tassel.
tufty tassel things.
Just so you can
at
just
the
so you can
top
take it
now.
off. Just
Yes,
so you can take it
so
off.
it's easier to take off. It should have been the lyre pipe.
You could also just take your hat off.
No, apparently it was too hard.
I was gonna say, apparently, really,
things
real-
were
well,
hard.
Yeah, they got their hands all together.
Life
They're
was
trying to figure
hard
out
back then. All right, so let's see. In the 1600s, these attributes further get like codified. At Oxford, Archbishop Laud creates the Laudian Statutes, which I think they still use today. They might update them, but it's described, the different robes for the different degrees, but also even like what you were supposed to wear underneath it was codified, which I think they still do have rules for.
Yeah,
now.
it's subfusc, right?
Subfusc, yeah, which means brown or something like
It means
light-
dark, doesn't it?
dark brown, yeah, or something like that. It was just supposed to be like somber things that you wore underneath. And the reason they were codifying them was to try to, so you couldn't tell your fellow students like social standing or like wealth at that point, which I thought was
Okay.
interesting because I feel like you think of those times as being very stratified, and you'd want to know other people's social standing and wealth. But anyway, Archbishop Laud thought they should be standardized. So he's the one that says that bachelors of the arts were required to wear gowns with wide pointed sleeves. Masters of the arts had the hanging sleeves that we talked about earlier, so the exit at the elbow and the drapey thing at the bottom. And doctors of theology, medicine, and law were given velvet facings on the front of their robes.
I got one of those.
Yes. So the same year that he set down these rules was when Harvard opened in the U.S. And so all these rules that he was making were sort of directly coming over to the new universities in America. So first at Harvard, students were required to wear their robes at all times, students and faculty, I believe. But then it switched shortly thereafter to just being during important ceremonies like we have now. In 1895, so we've jumped ahead a few years. There's a lot more universities in the U.S., and they're all coming up with their own traditions until a few of them from Columbia, Yale, Princeton, and New York. Interestingly, not Harvard. But they all get together and they create the Intercollegiate Code of Academic Costume in 1895 that sets out our own rules.
They never made me read that.
They didn't make it. Well, it's probably pretty dry.
I'd be pretty interested in it.
Yeah?
I don't think many people would. That also sounds like a very, very boring conference to go to.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I
But
don't.
can you imagine the arguments?
Oh, they have to be so petty.
So bad.
So,
No silk for you.
oh, it has to bring out just the worst in our
absolute worst.
profession.
When think about who you would send to that.
Yeah.
like who would you send as your representatives? They're not the fun ones.
You are the most pedantic person I know.
Exactly. Like, hey,
We're
you
gonna-
care about this thing that no one else cares about. Why don't you go to this conference?
You are going to represent our whole institution. Do you have any instructions? Nope.
Nope. Just go.
Just go.
Do what you always do.
Right. and take as long as you
Yeah,
want.
please do not come back quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, these rules dictated the cut and fabric type and the colors for the different degrees and fields of studies. And they did it. They just wanted to unify sort of the system in our country and just make it so that we could all easily identify that you are a doctor of physics, which we all don't know what the.
We all know it.
Because you won't shut up about
That's right, because I don't stop talking about it.
Somebody could know. And this also codified the so bachelor's robes were plain robes that were worn closed with a mortarboard. The reason they were worn closed was again that older idea of everybody being sort of the same and nothing stratified. But then masters and doctorates could wear their robes open, which is interesting that yours has a zipper in the front.
Mine does have a zipper.
So I
assume does not come from the Romans.
It does not come from the Romans. Does not come from the Romans, but not even this era. They were letting masters and doctorates be set above, and you could show your fine layers underneath.
Maybe I'll just stop zipping mine up.
Yeah, you could stop zipping it up.
I've wondered why most people do zip theirs up. I think maybe because they're wearing comfortable, casual clothes underneath. But
maybe.
I'm not.
But you're not, and there's no sense in you baking.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going unzipped next time.
Because if the people, the pedantic,
the pedantic people,
irritating people said it's okay.
Yeah, I'm listening to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There
Done.
you go.
Done.
Yep. Wear it open. Just go full.
I love that.
Full open this year.
Well, so the funny thing too is that Jules mentioned that they used to require that students and all faculty teach and learn in them.
Yeah.
Jules ever tell you about her suggestion that she had once to
No.
to our people at our institution?
Okay, all right. So the college sent out a thing, or somebody sent out a thing that was submit your suggestions for how to raise the academic climate on
Remember when we were
campus.
trying to raise the academic climate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wrote in that I thought all the professors should teach in their robes because at the time, and I think this isn't as true anymore, the students were still really into Harry Potter, and I was like, oh my God, we'll become like the Harry Potter University. Students will flock here. They want that. They want to be taught by people.
You can imagine what the response was to that.
Oh, I can imagine.
And in fact, I remember talking to an administrator who had read this and thought it was a joke, and was saying this to Jules.
And I was like,
when she said that was actually my suggestion.
So I'm just trying to think of how you would try to require faculty.
It's so good.
It's
such a great idea.
Right?
It's such a great idea.
Yeah, right. And,
clothes. Well, you could put it under moral turpitude.
Right.
ooh.
So I have taught in my robe.
Ooh.
So I've taught in it on St. Andrew's Day, which is a Scottish holiday.
Oh, yeah.
And so Chris Fee and I, and we need to get him on the show. I think that would be great. But Chris went to Glasgow, so we make a point of
only if he's listening. He has to come. He has to come to us.
But
you got to come to us.
Point
You
of
ask them, Fee.
wearing
They'll know you
our
listened.
Scottish robes in a Scottish holiday. And I will say that the downside to it is that I get chalk all over my robe.
Oh
and it's
yeah, that's
black,
terrible.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible.
So you could have special like they did in the old days. You would have different sets. You could have a set for teaching that's like washable cotton.
And then,
then
a set
you could
for
have
formal occasion.
Yeah, your set for formal.
Or just need a chalk hole.
Yeah, a chalk hole. Yeah. We did have a professor when I was in undergrad who taught. He was a classics professor, and he taught in his robes.
Yeah, I saw those robes.
Yeah.
They looked like he had taught
And
it.
didn't you feel like when you came into that classroom, you're like, yeah, I'm really going to learn something from this scholar. Doesn't it put you in the mindset?
Yeah, sure, but good luck requiring them.
I mean, that's like we have, people in uniforms because uniforms, they speak to something in us humans that I don't know, makes you listen.
So one of the, and to that point, one of the things I'm really interested in is the cultural language of fashion, right? So what is being conveyed in what people are wearing. And I love the idea of us conveying 1,000, 1,500 years of tradition of exclusion, right?
and pedantry.
Right, and being pedants, right? We are different. That's why we're wearing
That's why
this, right?
We're not doing any physical labor.
We're doing no physical labor.
labor is happening here, we promise you.
And we're being highly critical.
Well, are there any last little things you want to tell?
Just in recent years, the intercollegiate code has backed off its requirements for specific fabrics and for the heavy.
That's also why I'm sweating, because this is definitely polyester.
And it says here they've cut back on the amount of pleating that. Oh, I guess it's just in bachelor's robes, so I guess that's why you still have
we're still pretty pleated.
yards and yards of fabric there. But yeah, so that's sort of the history of the American current academic regalia system.
Blame the Romans.
Blame the freaking Romans.
There you go.
Jules, this was a tour de force.
What have the Romans ever done for us?
Exactly. And on that note, why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back and do some more fun stuff.
Welcome back to the Ivory Attic. I'm Ian Isherwood.
And I'm Kurt Andreessen.
Why do we always say who we are? People know who we are, don't they?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they've forgotten.
Maybe they have, yeah.
There you go.
And I think we just like to say our own names.
Well, that's we both knew that was the answer.
So, what a tour de force by Jules. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For telling us all about why we're wearing these funny hats and these funny robes.
Exactly.
And Kurt's over there. Kurt, you've lost like 5 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweating over there, wearing.
Oh, going directly into the robe.
That's
Good
right.
news is I don't have to wear this for 1 week.
Yeah.
It'll dry out.
Definitely dry out by then.
So we're now moving into the quiz portion of our show. What do we call that?
That's the one quiz question I can never answer.
Did you know?
Oh, that was it.
Oh.
I got
So because we had such a good result with our previous podcast with it, I went back to Dean Chat
Dean
Oh,
Chat,
nice.
such a good quiz master.
to put together a quiz for Jules. And Dean Chat, we're going to promote Dean Chat because
boy.
the person who is in charge of graduation is the college marshal.
Oh,
So it'll be
excellent.
Marshal Chat
Marshall Chat,
or
Right.
or Dean Marshal Chat or
Yeah, Dean.
Marshal Dean Chat. I'm not sure what the hierarchy is,
Yeah, okay.
but Marshal Chat has come up with a quiz for you.
Okay.
So I asked to come up with a quiz about academic dress. So quiz question number 1. It's a bit of a softball. What do you call the hat worn by graduates during ceremonies? You have a choice. A mortarboard. B, a trowel hat. C, a graduation cap. Or D, a wisdom topper.
Well, I think mortarboard, but I have, people do say just graduation cap these days.
You got to pick one.
I have to pick one. I'm going to go with mortarboard.
You are correct.
Oh man, I really liked. What was it? What was it?
Because it's cap and gown.
Education trowel. What was it? What was it?
Trowel hat.
No, what was the D?
Is that a
Wisdom
real thing?
topper.
Wisdom topper.
Wisdom
is what
topper.
I
I
like.
like that
I
one, too.
actually like wisdom
The
topper.
sorting hat.
Why are all academic gowns black? A,
Mine isn't.
yeah, yours is definitely not. A, they hide coffee stains well.
Ooh.
B, it's slimming for all those late night study snacks.
Wow.
C,
Dean Chet's Marshall Chet's getting a little,
yeah, that's not
a little
that's not
punchy.
cool.
A little
Yeah.
punchy. Yeah.
C, tradition. It's always been that way. D, to match the color of the abyss that is thesis writing.
Well, but this isn't real. Like, they're not all black.
Yeah, but
Okay, so pretend
Come
they
on,
are.
play the quiz.
All right, tradition then, I guess.
All right.
let's go down. Oh, you got another one.
Oh man. All right.
All right. 3. What's the hood? Oh, these are softballs. You've already covered all this. What's the hood?
I am Dean Chat. Or
What's the
Marshall
purpose of the hood worn with academic dress? A, to catch snacks that fall during the ceremony. What's up with the snacks?
Really, really nailing the snack side of this.
B, it represents the university's attempt to keep knowledge under wraps.
Wow, Dean Chet has a bit of an agenda over here.
Definitely. C, it signifies the graduate's area of study and degree level. D, it's a fashion statement, obviously.
Whoa.
C.
Yeah, you got
All
that one
right,
right
okay.
too. Okay, you're doing well. You're doing better than our last guest. You already answered number 4. What's the origin of the term mortarboard for graduation cap?
Dean Chet's really falling down over here.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
We're gonna do 5.
Or not.
No,
Anytime you're ready.
these are all terrible.
The good news is we really take a lot of time. We make sure we double, triple check all of these questions before we come here. So that is the quiz over.
Yeah, I think the quiz is over.
Congratulations! A
You passed
perfect
the
score.
quiz. This was the worst quiz we've had.
That was so we don't normally do this, but we can rate the quiz at this point. I'm going to rate that very low.
ChatGPT. That was a terrible quiz. I'm sorry to hear that. How about we try another approach? What kind of quiz would you like instead?
Yeah, no, forget it. Don't ask me.
Don't gaslight
I was
me.
going to say, come on. You knew what you wanted.
You guys were all worried that AI was gonna ruin the grades you give to your students.
She's not even helping us.
Yeah, Marshall Chat's not helping
You can figure
us.
that out.
Yeah.
You can figure
Move
out
on.
that's
Next
AI.
one.
All right, next segment is
All right.
what's your style?
Excellent.
What's my style?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're a very stylish
We've
person.
already
Aw.
talked about ours.
thanks.
A lot.
Yeah, you're a very stylish person. I feel like I can say that because I know you well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, there is a lot of pressure being a costume designer to
not wear costumes.
Or to wear costumes.
No, I mean,
Ooh.
I feel it's the opposite way. Like, I feel like I have to step up and wear interesting clothes all the time, which is fine. I've always liked not dressing the way everybody else does. I always liked being a little unique, I guess. I don't know if I've quite got there, but my aspiration for my style, I think, is somewhere like fairy Viking.
Oh,
I just want to look like I'm from.
now it sounds like we're narrowcasting just to Crispy.
Yeah.
So
right. I know. So like
I just wanna look like I am from-
Fae Viking.
Yeah, I want to look like I'm from no real time or place, but
Well, I think you're nailing it.
oh,
yeah,
thanks.
you got it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We don't have many people that answer Fairy Viking.
No, it's yeah. Well, maybe we'll get more.
So this is probably why we go to the Ren Fair together.
It
Yeah,
is,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
so-
sure. Yeah, that's,
Because unlike the real
I'm
Renaissance, they're fairies and Vikings
Well, because
at
I
the
was going to say
Renaissance Festival.
because it has all the things that I love most about the Renaissance, which is fairies and Vikings and dragons.
That's right.
The three greatest things about the Renaissance, as understood by all historians and regular people.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely like, if I ever lose my multiple jobs here at the college, like that, you'll find me at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair. I'll just be.
That's a good
living
backup for all of
there.
us. We
Yes.
could maybe live there.
Yeah, let's
we
just
would
live
do
there.
well there.
We would do so well there. And, well, one of the things. So I was at the Ren Fair a few years ago, and I actually went up to. It wasn't with you guys, but it was just with my family. But I went up to a Viking who didn't look that scary, because sometimes Vikings look kind of scary, and because they're Vikings, and my people were Anglo-Saxons, and they were not very nice.
You got
So,
residual fear.
yeah, and so I went up to him and I was like, "Did you know that the period you're representing is about the same chronological distance from the Renaissance that we are right now?" And he didn't really know. He didn't really get it, I think, at the time. But I was like,
History's hard.
yeah,
It's
and
hard.
I don't know. I'm not the best with dates, but I do know that 1000 AD is pretty far away from 1500, like maybe 500 years.
Did you go up to the fairies and also tell them that they don't exist?
No,
They've always existed.
So I have a tough time. One of the hard things I have with the Ren Fair, and you like this, it causes me some discomfort.
Oh, yeah, this is the only reason I go.
Yeah, when people come up to me and they try to act or play and be playful with me. Like I just have to walk away. I can't handle it. Yeah. The playfulness is too much for me. The whimsy is too much for me.
Extreme whimsy.
Too much whimsy. Please, no more whimsy.
I mean, I don't want a dour Renaissance festival, but I'm not there to participate.
Wait a second.
You don't want to
play?
You do.
Yeah. Maybe a little.
You want some plague? You want some plague in there?
Yeah, maybe I want it to be a little bit like the Renaissance, right? There's a lot of people reading Greek, trying to figure out philosophy.
You want the medieval fair.
Yeah, that's good.
Instead of the Renaissance fair.
Yeah. That's great. What do you think? Do you think?
Well, no. So I had one more question. It's for the both of you.
Uh-oh. Dual quiz.
What did you wear to your college graduations?
Oh.
Do you even remember?
Penn State's colors were blue, so I had like the basic like cheap blue fabric robe and a blue mortarboard. Underneath it, I wore a dress that I made. I was kind of a hippie at the time.
That is so cool.
I wore the like cotton patchwork dress. I had dreadlocks. They were less like dreadlocks. They were just big knots in my hair, which is super funny because our youngest son right now.
Because you're living in the woods.
Our youngest son right now, like his hair does what mine did, where it just gets in like big knots, and I'm like always fighting him to comb it out while secretly inside my head being like, your mother had the same conversation with you about all the knots in your hair. Anyway, what'd you wear?
I'm trying to think. I think at that time, you're going to love this. I think I might have still been in my silk shirt.
Nice.
I think it might have been a silk shirt. I think, like real flowy.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to his college graduation because my sister graduated the same year, so I had to go be a good sister and see him. So, I don't remember what you wore.
I feel like I was still in the silk shirt phase of my...
Yeah, I kind of wish you'd go back to that. Just
hey, we can make it happen.
Yeah, just a little
Maybe
bit.
This would be the summer of silk. Also known as the summer of sweat.
Well, silk's
nothing better than sweaty silk.
If it's real silk, it's very breathable.
Yeah, that wasn't what I was wearing. Excellent. All right, well, good.
What did you wear, Ian?
I wore a hand-me-down suit from my dad. It was a Prince of Wales pattern suit.
Oh yeah.
Cool. And I also didn't realize how hot my academic gown was going to be, so I was sweating. But I wore a bow tie and my dad's suit, and I basically look like a banker.
There you go.
Yeah.
Foretelling future.
Wait, you didn't own any suits at that point yourself?
So I did, but
I didn't.
I just can't imagine.
I was wearing silk. Oh,
yeah.
that's why I was wearing silk shirt.
You I know about.
The one thing in college that I used to buy a lot of, buy a lot of vintage clothes. So I had like a pretty nice little collection. I mean, I didn't have like a ton of money, but I knew good places that had nice vintage things, and you could still buy clothes from like the 40s, 50s, and 60s in thrift stores.
Yeah.
And I was also of a size where it was easy for me to find stuff for, some men back then were my size. So they were, so they were smaller. And so I had a bunch of vintage stuff. But for some reason I wanted to look like I was more professional than I was. So, and one of the themes of my life is trying to convince my family that I'm a serious person who is worthy of love. And so I thought that if I wore a suit and looked like my dad, that it would work. So, and it probably didn't.
Well, everybody loves you. Everybody loves you.
Well, on that note, I think it's about time for a drink. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea.
All right, so
I think we all need one now.
We'll take a quick break and come back in a second.
Oh, Ian.
Welcome back to the Ivory Attic. I'm Kurt Andreessen.
And I'm Ian Isherwood.
So what we have in front of us here, we have in a cocktail glass, something that's frothy and foamy. I think I know what that is on top of
You
it.
might. Well, so first, Jules, tell us what you decided on for the name of your cocktail.
Well, I submitted 2 names, and I thought you guys could.
I thought it was a colon. So give us a first name.
Okay, I said sartorial storyteller.
So it's the sartorial storyteller, colon.
It's not just putting clothes on people, Kurt.
I like that.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one. All right, so with that inspiration, I've created this. So let's try it.
Oh, that's very good.
Ooh.
Yeah. So for this one, so what are you tasting? What do you got here?
The citrus.
Yep, there's some citrus.
Violet.
Now that's yeah. So Jules.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Is
right.
this quiz not for me? It's just for Ian. Sorry.
No, that's right. You're
I'll
allowed
be
to
quiet.
answer. You're allowed to answer.
Nope.
So she has inside information. There is
Violet.
Yeah, excellent. Well done.
Gin.
Yeah, you got it. All right, that's basically it. Yeah, and the frothiness obviously comes from the.
It's a floral gin too.
Yeah, well, so it's a floral gin, but I also I've also put some. So yeah, it's actually a rose geranium gin.
Oh, okay.
But I've also there's a tiny bit of.
That's the perfumey kind
exactly.
of, yeah.
Exactly.
What's that Lancaster one?
Exactly. And I put a little bit of Cointreau in there to just kind of
okay.
round it all out. So it's basically a white lady, which is a famous cocktail, but with some of the violet in there instead. So it's very nice.
It's delicious.
Yeah. It was really easy because this is not the first drink I have made for Jules. And so I know exactly.
baseball.
I know exactly. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
exactly what she is interested in. So, it's specially tailored for her. Yeah.
Tailored.
Well,
Ah.
it's also
But also, yeah,
it's also tailored for me too.
Yeah,
It's
well, there you go.
delicious.
There you go. When I also, what I was really going for, obviously, is like, the thing that's funny about
The color's a little off-putting.
well, so the color was the whole point because it was supposed to be real, like all about, because it's sartorial, like it's all about presentation, and so the whole thing about the violet, liqueur.
Mhm.
I mean, they're not squeezing violets out there to get the purple. Like they just add some blue and red food coloring, and so
Wait, they're
So
not?
it's a theater trick.
They're not
right, exactly. So the whole
I
idea
thought
is
they
that like
squeezed-
you're just doing presentations. So
No.
yeah, exactly.
I
So
thought they squeezed the violets.
yeah, I mean they squeeze the violets at some point, I think, to get the flavor.
get the
but,
flavor.
Yeah, but it
Color doesn't come with
the
it.
color doesn't come with it. So I just kind of thought, it's a similar type of idea, going for thinking about aesthetics, thinking about presentation, all of that, which we always are, but especially so, and it still tastes good.
No, it's very good.
And underneath,
The
yeah,
frothy
so.
foaminess is delicious.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. That's
Jules, how do you feel?
Oh yeah, it's lovely. Like he said, he knows at this point what what I like to drink. That egg white is that's all for me.
Yeah.
So this is the complete opposite of the Thanksgiving cocktail.
It is the complete opposite of the Thanksgiving cocktail. That's exactly right.
This one is good and it goes together.
Yeah. No, there were much different themes though. Yeah.
So how come when I ask for a cocktail, you give me
Well, I mean, don't tell me to make you a Thanksgiving cocktail. She told me to make something about good looks and wonderfulness, and you asked me to make you something that's based on turkey.
Right.
So, I succeeded in both.
And with that,
Exactly.
all right. Thank you so much, Jules, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me,
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah, well, we're
This was-
very, very lucky to have you. I know it took
Aw.
some time to schedule.
Yeah, I mean, this was
don't know.
originally just going to be a little segment. I didn't
I don't know.
realize I'd be a
Well, we would
real
love to have you
guest.
back on.
Oh yeah, you can be a
Okay.
recurring.
Which would be
Okay.
great.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but I
we
know
need
you
to do another one with Ian about
we do about birds.
space.
Yeah,
or birds.
or about everything. But the
Birds in space.
and especially birds in space because birds and especially since we were talking about birds with Kurt or
Exactly. Yeah.
but no, it's been
can ask him what a
absolutely
cardinal is.
great. I'm sorry you guys were having whatever domestic thing you were having where we couldn't schedule you.
Wait, what?
Hey, listen, we don't know that that's not ongoing.
Right.
Maybe we're just professionals and we put it aside.
Well, again, the second time on that note, thank you, Jules. Thank you to our listeners as well. And we have more good content coming up. You can feel free to follow us on social media at Ivory Attic Hosts on X or The Ivory Attic on Facebook or on Instagram.
Wonderful.
And you can write to us, too.
Write to us at mail@theivoryattic.com.
And yes, and if you send us mean things, we probably won't answer.
Yeah. We also, if you send us nice things, it might take us a while to answer because it was the end of the semester.
Right, yeah, we're doing a lot of grading.
But listen, just like any good professor, we're catching up on all those emails now that the semester is over. So.
That's right. All right, I'm Ian Isherwood.
And I'm Kurt Andreessen.
And thanks for joining us as we rummage through the Ivory Attic.